All right. Hi, everybody. Al Iverson here. You might know me from Spam Resource and little videos that I do and post here on YouTube or LinkedIn or wherever else you might be watching this. Today, I wanted to do something fun and interesting, and that would be to talk to my friend Mickey Chandler. Mickey, go ahead and say hi.
Hi.
Hi. So Mickey's an old friend of mine, somebody that I've known for years and years and years, going way back to the early days of spam fighting, spam filtering, and chasing after bad senders to try to get them to stop doing bad things and start doing good things. I thought it would be fun to interview Mick. It's sort of a follow-up to the interview he did. He was kind enough to participate in for the Spam Resource Spotlight series earlier this year. So let's kick it off. Mickey, welcome. The way I usually like to kick these off is, tell me about your background or tell the viewers about your background. How'd you get into email?
So, I got into email out of frustration. Way back in the misty moments of time when things were still new and fresh and spammers were horrible. Um, I came home one day from actually going on a job hunt and discovered 70 something emails in my inbox, only two of which were from anyone I knew. Um, and kind of decided something had to give, uh, especially if at the time I was still looking forward to having children, especially if email was going to be useful for them when they grew up. So I ended up being one of those people who said, if someone's going to do something, why can't that be me? And I ended up teaching myself how to read headers and learning where and how to complain effectively and efficiently. And one thing led to another, and that eventually became paying work. So that's how I got into email.
So I think people don't realize what a grotesque Wild West and email inbox was back then, and not in the fun, dusty cowboy kind of way. Like inboxes were just absolutely filled with weird stuff. Like you said, you come home and 80 of the 84 emails in your email account are just weird garbage. And it's just like half of them are weird, gross porn stuff. Half of them are get rich quick or other just strange stuff. Like people think it's annoying to get a few spams at a time now. I just think they don't realize how strange it was. I used to get the weirdest stuff, just like you. What got me into it was just being so frustrated and overwhelmed by how much garbage it was and how much of it was not only like, marketers would say, oh, they're doing ethical things, but there's people on top of that just sending just absolutely weird, strange, gross stuff.
Yeah. And a lot of the things that we hear even today, we heard back then. Like, I'm not sending Viagra spam. I'm just sending this other thing. I'm not sending anything that's actually offensive. Um, but the fact of the matter is, if we let everybody do that, email's just not usable by anybody at that point. I remember back then, um, kind of doing the math along with a whole bunch of other people. Is just like if you got an email from 1% of the companies that you do business with in a year, that is still way more email than you want to handle. And when we, blow that up and all of the other companies that want to do business with me, if we allow 1% of those people, not even the ones I do business with, if we allow 1% of the ones who want to do business with me to get away with it, uh, that was hundreds of messages a day. And it's just untenable. And of course, everybody wants to say I'm not a spammer, even while they're doing the things that make them a spammer, because in their minds, spammers are horrible, evil people that do terrible things. Uh, But when you do the things that spammers do, even if you're not sending the same content, that doesn't make you really any different.
So that's a good segue to policy compliance. Like your career sort of developed like way back then. We didn't even have the term deliverability. I think that came about in 2002 or 2003. But even as your career sort of came into the deliverability realm, your specialty within that universe was really sort of policy compliance. Why that versus something else?
It was a good way to segue from what I was doing to what I wanted to do. So before all of this, I was a legal assistant. I worked for a actually for a personal injury attorney in Austin, Texas, helping helping people who've been injured in accidents. And you, you a lot of people have in their minds this sort of ambulance chaser dude, not the guy that I worked for. There's some wonderful stories I could tell. This isn't really the time or place for that, but there's some great stories I can tell about things he did when we found out that clients were not on the up and up as they came in. But uh, I worked in law, and so the intersection of sort of spam and law was something that was really attractive to me because I'm an attorney now, but back then I wasn't, but I still got the idea. I still understood things where I knew that there were contracts in place that said what you could and couldn't do, and being able to sort of dive into that and give people a reason to do what I wanted them to do, namely at that time, namely disconnect the spammers. Um, Being able to say, you've got terms of service over here, and they say that this person can't do this, they're actually violating your contract. You have every reason in the world to disconnect them. I understand they're paying you money, but yet, soon it's going to be the only person who's paying you money because everybody else is going to leave.
That is an excellent segue, and because that's the whole reason I wanted to chat with you was basically to congratulate you on graduating law school and passing the law. That's a huge milestone. It has to have been a heck of a lot of work. What was law school like? I mean, how heavy lifting was it? Were you ever just like, to heck with this, I'm ready to just give up and stop chasing that dream after some point?
I don't know that I was ever really ready to stop chasing the dream. There were certainly a lot of moments where I was like, "What am I doing here?" I am I'm not a young chicken anymore. When you go to law school, a lot of the people that you go to law school with are what are termed K to JD. So in other words, they do school straight from kindergarten all the way through to the end. I, on the other hand, had a I, on the other hand, had about a 21-year break between when I when I got married, which was actually a year or two after I finished my undergrad degree. There was about a 20-year break there between then and when I started to law school. So I actually had an entire other career um, that happened between when I got my undergraduate degree and when I went to law school. And that I think helped in a lot of ways, but um, it also hurt in some ways in that when you are starting out, you are used to not making money. Um, One of the things that happens when you finish with law school is you discover now I'm no longer the person who is, senior, which is where I was. I was making a lot of money before, and now I am not making so much anymore. And part of the reason for that is um, I don't necessarily get to command the $700 or $800 an hour that a 20-year attorney gets to command. I am much further down the scale. On the other hand, I'm doing a lot of my own consulting work these days, helping with deliverability issues and things like that, which I really do enjoy doing. But moving from one area into another, you definitely feel it when you've got a mortgage that you didn't have when you were 23. when you've got kids who want to go to college themselves that you didn't have when you were 23. All of those bills just sort of add up, and you're discovering that it's way easier to live on less than $100,000 a year when you don't have five people that are constantly coming with their hands out. And you're one of those five people because obviously you'd like to have dinner tonight.
Yeah, yeah. And that's another good segue to essentially my last question or setup here is feel free to pitch it. What kind of clients are you looking for? Who can you help them? And how can you help them? And for people wondering, contact info, we'll have that in the description or the comments, depending on where we post this. So we're not going to put it in the video directly. And sorry, Mickey. So what kind of client is a perfect client for you? Well, how can you help them?
Man, so there are a few different answers to that because there are a few different things that I do. As I said, I do deliverability consulting. A large part of that, especially with my compliance background, it really centers itself on the idea of remediation. In other words, you've gotten yourself in trouble. Um, how do you fix that? How do how do you get yourself out of email jail, as we used to call it? One of the things you see a lot in law is criminal defense attorneys often used to be criminal prosecutors. And that's sort of the same area that I find myself in a lot when I'm doing deliverability consulting. It's the idea that someone has gotten themselves into trouble and they really need someone who understands what's going on in order to help them get out of trouble, whether that's with Spamhaus or whether that's with their ESP or even whether that's with Comcast or Yahoo or whoever, because spam filters are now chewing them up and throwing them into the spam folder or whatever. Uh, I'm one of those people who used to be on the other side and enforcing the policies, and so I can help people understand what's going on there. But I also, over the course of that entire other career, did a lot of work in privacy. And so I'm doing more stuff in privacy now, and I would like to do even more, helping companies who are wanting to, for instance, branch out from doing business in the US to doing business in Europe, where they have much stricter privacy laws than we do. And so being able to help them come up with privacy policies and privacy notices and understand, when you have to do something like put up that silly little cookie banner that says, I understand you're going to put cookies on, or even as you and I know, there have been a number of lawsuits over the last year dealing with pixels in emails and people who want to understand what's going on with that and how they can protect themselves, um, or better protect themselves from those types of things. Those are all things that I'm really good at doing and that I enjoy doing. I was just thinking the other day, I really am kind of sad that I have to charge for this. It would be, it would be great in my opinion if I was just independently wealthy and I could just sort of hang out the sign like Lucy did, say the psychiatrist is in 5 cents, and give me your nickel and I will solve all your problems for you. But those are the types of things that I really enjoy doing and want to do more of. Sort of along with that, I also do an outsourced or fractional chief privacy officer position type thing where it's only part time, but it's really meant for these smaller companies that don't have a need for someone all the time, but they need someone who can talk sort of at the drop of a hat with their programmers and help them understand what's going on, or we want to move into Europe. What do we need to know? What do our salespeople need to know? All of those sorts of questions that you need, but you may not need someone who is working 40 hours a week and you're trying to figure out now how do I justify, paying for their health insurance and things like that. So that's something else I do. So, I'm working on more privacy certifications. I've had the CIPP US certification for a long time. I got my Chief Information Privacy Manager certification this year. I'm working on a European one, and we'll probably do some more classes on that come the turn of the year. So, privacy is an area that I really want to sort of expand into and work more on.
Cool. That's awesome. Um, Mickey, thank you so much for doing this, for taking the time to chat with me. And good luck, man. I think people would be wise to listen to what you have to offer and consider your services. I have been very much impressed, even most recently with the presentation you gave at the ESPC meeting last week, talking about the cases involving that Arizona law and the evil spy pixels. So I found that super insightful, and I think that's the kind of thing that I hope is the bridge there to more opportunities for you. So thank you, sir. Thank you everybody for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you around for the next one.